Photo stage, Jill Abram. Thank you, Jill.
Thank you. I have to put the microphone stand down, and will you excuse me because I have to hitch my trousers up. That's better. I'm not taking calls, I'm setting my stopwatch. So I don't really have a theme for my second set, and if it makes you feel better, I'll listen. I don't know anything by heart. And the first one is for Patrick. He asked me to send him some poems, so he could decide if I was good enough to come. And this was his favourite. It's called Treasure. This tiny key, delicate and delightful, works a simple lock, stylish, not secure. A determined intruder could easily enter, but it shows me that I should not. Herein are secrets. You trust me, and I respect the sanctity of your hiding place, but wonder what lies within. Are they secrets of the heart, the loins, or just the wallet? Why do you keep them from me? Is it fear, embarrassment, or a test? Is betrayal hidden in here? Or did you select such a flimsy lock in order to invite me in? I hosted a gig recently, and I was kind of put to shame because all these poets came on with their iPads and I've got my old-fashioned clipboard. I've got a Kindle on my wish list for my birthday in January, so I may get high-tech in 2012. Then, if you're not a botanist, you might not understand the title of my next poem, which is my first and so far only sonnet. I felt very proud when I read a sonnet. If you don't get it, I'll explain the title afterwards. It's called Brunfelsia Pauciflora. I saw her there and thought I recognised the girl I was. She seemed somewhat surprised, perhaps aghast. "Is this what I've become?" she asked. "Yes, this is you, but take a crumb of comfort knowing I'm quite satisfied." One look at me, and she could see I'd lied. "But I must make some changes for your sake. You should have made some babies, baked some cakes." Our talk was interrupted by a noise, the scuff of slippers trimmed with purple fur. A strange old lady, quavering like her voice, said, "You've got more to fret about than her. There's worse to come for you two, don't you see? That both of you will end up being me." So the title is the Latin name for a plant that doesn't grow in this country, but its common name is yesterday, today and tomorrow. So this next poem might help explain some of the first set. It's called Invisible Woman. Middle age begins at 50. It crept up from 40 as I did. I don't see a way to raise it again, so the time will come when I'll have to admit it, although I will never announce it. How did I get here? Sunsets, phases of the moon and seasons slipped by. Another birthday was marked, and then years had passed. I gave names to my children, but I did not give birth to them. When did my parents get old? When did theirs become the oldest generation? The tables turned so slowly, I didn't notice that I was looking out for, then looking after them. The next generation are becoming adults with driving licences and career paths, while I ponder pensions and making a will. So I mentioned my parents getting old. If my dad makes it to March the 12th, he'll be 90. And he and my mum have been married since 1954. But for the last 3 or 4 years they've been living on opposite sides of the city of Manchester because he's in a care home. And this kind of goes back to the beginning of the process that led to him being there. It's called Leaving. It's one of the rare poems that goes over 2 pages. leaving. After he woke, but before he could speak, he held my finger in a baby-strong grip, so I couldn't leave. He smiled with his whole face, so I wouldn't leave. And when I said he could wiggle his ears, in the past tense, he wiggled his ears to show me he was still there. After the monitors, the tubes, the hole in his throat, the hiss clunk of the vent, the scan of his brain blurred because he was thrashing around because of the dark patches. And so the sedation, the coma, and the Scottish consultant who said another infection could carry him away. He asked if I could see the plane wreckage through the window. He thought he'd killed Mum in a car crash. She wasn't there, and he couldn't remember that she had been there earlier and would come again later. He spent an afternoon organising a conference from his private room with ensuite and worried that there wouldn't be enough wine for the dinner. Now he speaks to me with old-style respect shown to strangers. He is polite, but I miss his teasing. He should pat my bottom or tickle me out of a hug and tell me what to do. I fasten his zip. I take him to the toilet. I wish away the time till his supper is served, so I can leave without a leave-taking. Probably like me to lighten things up a little now. Do you know the William Carlos Williams poem, This Is Just to Say? It's basically an apology for stealing somebody's plums from the fridge. So here's a couple of This Is Just to Say poems. This is just to say, I've borrowed your car. I will return it intact and with a full tank at the earliest possible opportunity. I will not drive it too fast and crash it into a wall while I'm reading a text. Nobody will need to call an ambulance or even to take a plaster from your first aid box. But the car may not be back until Thursday, and when you see me I may be walking with a limp. This is just to say, I found your poem most amusing, and so I laughed. I didn't realise it was meant to be moving, a deep, emotional, spiritual experience which you actually lived through. Forgive me, but it was very funny. Thanks. Oh, another 2-pager coming out. I wrote those 2 poems on a writing course, an Arvon writing course at Lumbank near Hebden Bridge. And it's beautiful countryside up there. I don't know if any of you've been. And one day I set off to go for a walk and ended up instead on a flight of fancy. And ended up with this poem called Did Philippe Petit Come to Heptonstall? At the top of the mill chimney, some 100 feet above the stream, but level with my eyes and my open mouth, is a man in a leotard. It is purple, gleaming neon against the light green lichen on the stones to which he clings, brighter even than the autumn flames around us. He pulls a rope, tugging it past snagging branches. Its other end is a short distance upstream, tied to the top of another chimney. He hauls until the line is taut. I sit on a moss-cushioned wall up the hill, wishing for binoculars or camera, but not risking missing a moment of what might ensue. Too dumbstruck to call others to see too. A cane hanging from his belt blooms into a parasol. He holds it aloft as he steps out onto the wire. I hold my breath. He pirouettes on one foot, a full turn, carries on. Halfway across, he ventures a jump, both feet leaving the wire, landing securely. Emboldened, he dances high above the valley floor. He spins and leaps, pliés, jetés, battements frappés, ending with a flourish into a grand arabesque. I gasp, too in awe to applaud. He tips his head back and laughs. He does not acknowledge his audience of one, seems unaware that I am even there. Walks on. He wobbles. A gust has blown up the valley. He raises the umbrella, and as the wind dies, he settles. Leaves settle on their branches. I sigh. 3 pheasant fly past. I am no longer the only witness to this feat. A final spring, and he's off the other end, releases the rope and descends. I go inside to warm up and calm down. When I reach to close the curtains, I see a man strolling up the slope. Our eyes meet. His twinkle. I think he winks. Thank you. I've just got time to do a 30-second one.
Of course.
Okay. I'm going to leave you with this thought. It's inspired by a poem by Charles Tomlinson called If Bach Had Been a Beekeeper. And this is called Another Life. If Martin Luther King had been a postman, he would still have had a dream. But instead of sharing it with all the world at once, he would have told people individually, household by household, as he walked his walk, delivering letters and ideas. And they would have spread his words, neighbour to neighbour, over garden gates and hedges and cups of tea, and he would still have made a difference. Thank you very much.
Very moving set there from Jill, so thank you very much for that, and particularly the poem about your father. So more applause, please, for Jill. Now time to welcome back Charles Dupre.
Thank you again. Right, I've never done this one before, so it's very much a test run. Again, Patrick has slightly preempted me by doing a poem about jealousy. This poem is also about jealousy. It's based on